The dog, Canis familiaris or Canis lupus familiaris, is a domesticated descendant of the wolf. Also called the domestic dog, it is derived from extinct gray wolves. And the gray wolf is the dog's closest living relative. The dog was the first species to be domesticated by humans. Experts estimate that hunter-gatherers domesticated dogs more than 15,000 years ago, which was before the development of agriculture. Due to their long association with humans, dogs have expanded to a large number of domestic individuals and gained the ability to thrive on a starch-rich diet that would be inadequate for other canids. The dog has been selectively bred over millennia for various behaviors, sensory capabilities, and physical attributes. Dog breeds vary widely in shape, size, and color. They perform many roles for humans, such as hunting, herding, pulling loads, protection, assisting police and the military, companionship, therapy, and aiding disabled people. Over the millennia, dogs became uniquely adapted to human behavior, and the human-canine bond has been a topic of frequent study. This influence on human society has given them the sobriquet of man's best friend. In 1758, the Swedish botanist and zoologist Carl Linnaeus published in his Systema Naturae the two-word naming of species, binomial nomenclature. Canis is the Latin word meaning dog, 6, and under this genus, he listed the domestic dog, the wolf, and the golden jackal. He classified the domestic dog as Canis familiaris and, on the next page, classified the gray wolf as Canis lupus. Linnaeus considered the dog to be a separate species from the wolf because of its upturning tail, cauda recurvata in Latin term, which is not found in any other canid. In 1999, a study of mitochondrial DNA, mtDNA, indicated that the domestic dog may have originated from the gray wolf, with the dingo and New Guinea singing dog breeds having developed at a time when human communities were more isolated from each other. In the third edition of Mammal Species of the World published in 2005, the mammalogist W. Christopher Wozencraft listed under the wolf Canis lupus its wild subspecies and proposed two additional subspecies, which formed the domestic dog clade, familiaris, as named by Linnaeus in 1758 and dingo named by Meyer in 1793. Wozencraft included Hallströmi, the New Guinea singing dog, as another name, junior synonym, for the dingo. Wozencraft referred to the mtDNA study as one of the guides informing his decision. Mammalogists have noted the inclusion of familiaris and dingo together under the domestic dog clade, with some debating it. In 2019, a workshop hosted by the IUCN Species Survival Commission's Canid Specialist Group considered the dingo and the New Guinea singing dog to be feral Canis familiaris and therefore did not assess them for the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. The earliest remains generally accepted to be those of a domesticated dog were discovered in Bonn-Oberkassel, Germany. Contextual, isotopic, genetic, and morphological evidence shows that this dog was not a local wolf. The dog was dated to 14,223 years ago and was found buried along with a man and a woman, all three having been sprayed with red hematite powder and buried under large, thick basalt blocks. The dog had died of canine distemper. Earlier remains dating back to 30,000 years ago have been described as Paleolithic dogs, but their status as dogs or wolves remains debated because considerable morphological diversity existed among wolves during the late Pleistocene. This timing indicates that the dog was the first species to be domesticated in the time of hunter-gatherers, which predates agriculture. DNA sequences show that all ancient and modern dogs share a common ancestry and descended from an ancient, extinct wolf population which was distinct from the modern wolf lineage. The dog is a classic example of a domestic animal that likely traveled a commensal pathway into domestication. The questions of when and where dogs were first domesticated have taxed geneticists and archaeologists for decades. Genetic studies suggest a domestication process commencing over 25,000 years ago in one or several wolf populations in either Europe, the high Arctic, or Eastern Asia. In 2021, a literature review of the current evidence infers that the dog was domesticated in Siberia 23,000 years ago by ancient North Siberians, then later dispersed eastward into the Americas and westward across Eurasia, with dogs likely accompanying the first humans to inhabit the Americas. Dogs are the most variable mammal on Earth, with around 450 globally recognized dog breeds. In the Victorian era, directed human selection developed the modern dog breeds, which resulted in a vast range of phenotypes. Most breeds were derived from small numbers of founders within the last 200 years. Since then, dogs have undergone rapid phenotypic change and have been subjected to artificial selection by humans. The skull, body, and limb proportions between breeds display more phenotypic diversity than can be found within the entire order of carnivores. These breeds possess distinct traits related to morphology, which include body size, skull shape, tail phenotype, fur type, and color. Their behavioral traits include guarding, herding, hunting, retrieving, and scent detection. Their personality traits include hypersocial behavior, boldness, and aggression. Present-day dogs are dispersed around the world. An example of this dispersal is the numerous modern breeds of European lineage during the Victorian era. All healthy dogs, regardless of their size and type, have an identical skeletal structure with the exception of the number of bones in the tail, although there is significant skeletal variation between dogs of different types. The dog's skeleton is well adapted for running. The vertebrae on the neck and back have extensions for back muscles, consisting of apaxial muscles and hypaxial muscles, to connect to. The long ribs provide room for the heart and lungs, and the shoulders are unattached to the skeleton, allowing for flexibility. Compared to the dog's wolf-like ancestors, selective breeding since domestication has seen the dog's skeleton larger in size for larger types such as mastiffs and miniaturized for smaller types such as terriers. Dwarfism has been selectively used for some types where short legs are advantageous, such as dachshunds and corgis. Most dogs naturally have 26 vertebrae in their tails, but some with naturally short tails have as few as 3. The dog's skull has identical components regardless of breed type, but there is significant divergence in terms of skull shape between types. The 3 basic skull shapes are the elongated dolichocephalic type as seen in sighthounds, the intermediate mesocephalic or mesatocephalic type, and the very short and broad brachycephalic type exemplified by mastiff-type skulls. Dogs' senses include vision, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and magnetoreception. One study suggests that dogs can feel small variations in Earth's magnetic field. Dogs prefer to defecate with their spines aligned in a north-south position in calm magnetic field conditions. Dogs' vision is dichromatic. The dog's visual world consists of yellows, blues, and grays. They have difficulty differentiating between red and green. The divergence of the eye axis of dogs ranges from 12 to 25 degrees, depending on the breed. Dogs' eyes of different breeds can have different retina configurations. The fovea centralis area of dogs' eyes, which is attached to a nerve fiber, is the most sensitive to photons. The coats of domestic dogs are of 2 varieties. Double being familiar with dogs, as well as wolves, originating from colder climates, made up of a coarse guard hair and a soft down hair, or single, with the topcoat only. Breeds may have an occasional, blaze, stripe, or star, of white fur on their chest or underside. Premature graying can occur in dogs as early as 1 year of age. This is associated with impulsive behaviors, anxiety behaviors, and fear of unfamiliar noise, people, or animals. A dog's dew claw is the 5 digits in the dog's forelimb and hind legs. Dogs' forelimbs' dew claws are attached by bone and ligament, while the dog's hind legs are attached by skin to the limb. Most dogs aren't born with dew claws in their hind legs, and some are without them in their forelimbs. Dogs' dew claws consist of the proximal phalanxes and distal phalanxes. Some publications thought that dew claws in wolves, who usually do not have dew claws, were a sign of hybridization with dogs. A dog's tail is the terminal appendage of the vertebral column, which is made up of a string of 5 to 23 vertebrae enclosed in muscles and skin that support the dog's back extensor muscles. One of the primary functions of a dog's tail is to communicate their emotional state. The tail also helps the dog maintain balance by putting its weight on the opposite side of the dog's tilt. And it can also help the dog spread its anal gland's scent through the tail's position and movement. Dogs can have a violet gland, or supracaudal gland, characterized by sebaceous glands on the dorsal surface of their tails. In some breeds, it may be vestigial or absent. The enlargement of the violet gland in the tail, which can create a bald spot from hair loss, can be caused by Cushing's disease or an excessive sebum from androgens in the sebaceous glands. A study suggests that dogs show asymmetric tail wagging responses to different emotive stimuli. Stimuli that could be expected to elicit approach tendencies seem to be associated with a higher amplitude of tail wagging movements to the right side. Dogs can injure themselves by wagging their tails forcefully. This condition is called kennel tail, happy tail, bleeding tail, or splitting tail. In some hunting dogs, the tail is traditionally docked to avoid injuries. Some dogs can be born without tails because of a DNA variant in the T gene, which can also result in a congenitally short, bobtail, tail. Some breeds of dogs are prone to specific genetic ailments such as elbow and hip dysplasia, blindness, deafness, pulmonic stenosis, a cleft palate, and trick knees. 2 severe medical conditions significantly affecting dogs are pyometra, affecting unspayed females of all breeds and ages, and gastric dilatation volvulus, bloat, which affects larger breeds or deep-chested dogs. Both of these are acute conditions and can kill rapidly. Dogs are also susceptible to parasites such as fleas, ticks, mites, hookworms, tapeworms, roundworms, and heartworms that can live in their hearts. Several human foods and household ingestibles are toxic to dogs, including chocolate solids, causing theobromine poisoning, onions and garlic, causing thiosulfate, sulfoxide or disulfide poisoning, grapes and raisins, macadamia nuts, and xylitol. The nicotine in tobacco can also be dangerous to dogs. Signs of ingestion can include copious vomiting, e.g., from eating cigar butts, or diarrhea. The symptoms of hydrocarbon mixture indigestion can be abdominal pain, aspiration pneumonia, oral ulcers, vomiting, or death. The most common deaths among dogs were neoplasia and heart disease, followed by toxicosis and gastrointestinal disease. A 20-year record study found that respiratory disease was the most common cause of death in bulldogs. Puppies were more likely to die from infection or congenital disease. 48. Dogs can also have some of the same health conditions as humans, including diabetes, dental and heart disease, epilepsy, cancer, hypothyroidism, and arthritis. Type 1 diabetes mellitus, resembling human diabetes, is the type of diabetes seen most often in dogs. Their pathology is similar to that of humans, as is their response to treatment and their outcomes. The genes involved in canine obsessive-compulsive disorders led to the detection of 4 genes in humans-related pathways. The typical lifespan of dogs varies widely among breeds, but the median longevity, the age at which half the dogs in a population have died and half are still alive, is approximately 12.7 years. Obesity correlates negatively with longevity, with one study finding obese dogs have a life expectancy approximately a year and a half less than dogs with a healthy weight. And domestic dogs. Sexual maturity happens around 6 months to 1 year for both males and females, although this can be delayed until up to 2 years of age for some large breeds. This is the time at which female dogs will have their first estrus cycle, characterized by their vulvas swelling and producing discharges, usually lasting between 4 and 20 days. They will experience subsequent estrus cycles semi-annually, during which the body prepares for pregnancy. At the peak of the cycle, females will become estrus, mentally and physically receptive to copulation. Because the ova survive and can be fertilized for a week after ovulation, more than one male can sire the same litter. Fertilization typically occurs 2 to 5 days after ovulation. After ejaculation, the dogs are coitally tied for around 5 to 30 minutes because of the male's vulvus glandis swelling and the female's constrictor vestibuli contracting. The male will continue ejaculating until they untie naturally. 14 to 16 days after ovulation, the embryo attaches to the uterus, and after 7 to 8 more days, a heartbeat is detectable. Dogs bear their litters roughly 58 to 68 days after fertilization, with an average of 63 days, although the length of gestation can vary. An average litter consists of about 6 puppies. Neutering is the sterilization of animals, usually by removing the male's testicles or the female's ovaries and uterus, to eliminate the ability to procreate and reduce sex drive. Because of dogs' overpopulation in some countries, many animal control agencies, such as the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, ASPCA, advise that dogs not intended for further breeding should be neutered, so that they do not have undesired puppies that may later be euthanized. According to the Humane Society of the United States, 3 to 4 million dogs and cats are euthanized each year. Many more are confined to cages in shelters. Spaying or castrating dogs is considered a major factor in keeping overpopulation down. Neutering reduces problems caused by hypersexuality, especially in male dogs. Spayed female dogs are less likely to develop cancers affecting the mammary glands, ovaries, and other reproductive organs. However, neutering increases the risk of urinary incontinence in female dogs, prostate cancer in males, and osteosarcoma, hemangiosarcoma, cruciate ligament rupture, pyometra, obesity, and diabetes mellitus in either sex. A common breeding practice for pet dogs is to mate them between close relatives, e.g., between half and full siblings. Inbreeding depression is considered to be due mainly to the expression of homozygous deleterious recessive mutations. Outcrossing between unrelated individuals, including dogs of different breeds, results in the beneficial masking of deleterious recessive mutations in progeny. In a study of 7 dog breeds, the Bernese Mountain Dog, Basset Hound, Cairn Terrier, Brittany, German Shepherd Dog, Leonberger, and West Highland White Terrier, it was found that inbreeding decreases litter size and survival. Another analysis of data on 42,855 dachshund litters found that as the inbreeding coefficient increased, litter size decreased and the percentage of stillborn puppies increased, thus indicating inbreeding depression. In a study of boxer litters, 22% of puppies died before reaching 7 weeks of age. Stillbirth was the most frequent cause of death, followed by infection. Mortality due to infection increased significantly with increases in inbreeding. Dog behavior is the internally coordinated responses, actions or inactions, of the domestic dog, individuals or groups, to internal and external stimuli. Dogs' minds have been shaped by millennia of contact with humans. They have acquired the ability to understand and communicate with humans and are uniquely attuned to human behaviors. Behavioral scientists thought that a set of social cognitive abilities in domestic dogs that are not possessed by the dog's canine relatives or other highly intelligent mammals, such as great apes, are parallel to children's social cognitive skills. Unlike other domestic species selected for production-related traits, dogs were initially selected for their behaviors. In 2016, a study found that only 11 fixed genes showed variation between wolves and dogs. These gene variations were unlikely to have been the result of natural evolution and indicate selection on both morphology and behavior during dog domestication. These genes have been shown to affect the catecholamine synthesis pathway, with the majority of the genes affecting the fight or flight response, i.e., selection for tameness and emotional processing. Dogs generally show reduced fear and aggression compared with wolves, though some of these genes have been associated with aggression in certain dog breeds. Traits of high sociability and lack of fear in dogs may include genetic modifications related to Williams-Boren syndrome in humans, which cause hypersociability at the expense of problem-solving ability. In a 2023 study of 58 dogs, some dogs classified as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder-like showed lower serotonin and dopamine concentrations. A similar study claims that hyperactivity is more common in male and young dogs. A dog can become aggressive because of trauma or abuse, fear or anxiety, territorial protection, or protecting an item it considers valuable. Acute stress reactions from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, seen in dogs can evolve into chronic stress. Police dogs with PTSD can often refuse to work. Dogs have a natural instinct called prey drive. The term is chiefly used to describe training dogs' habits, which can be influenced by breeding. These instincts can drive dogs to consider objects or other animals to be prey or drive possessive behavior. These traits have been enhanced in some breeds so that they may be used to hunt and kill vermin or other pests. Puppies or dogs sometimes bury food underground. One study found that wolves outperformed dogs in finding food caches, likely due to a difference in motivation between wolves and dogs. Some puppies and dogs engage in coprophagy out of habit, stress, for attention, or boredom. Most of them will not do it later in life. A study hypothesizes that the behavior was inherited from wolves. A behavior likely evolved to lessen the presence of intestinal parasites in dens. Duration, 30 seconds. 0-30 Dog swimming over to catch a ball. Most dogs can swim. In a study of 412 dogs, around 36.5% of the dogs could not swim. The other 63.5% were able to swim without a trainer in a swimming pool. A study of 55 dogs found a correlation between swimming and improvement of the hip osteoarthritis joint.